to the current one unfolding. In the 1960s, the civil rights movement ignited in Greensboro, with protests against racial segregation spreading nationwide. This was followed in the 1970s by student protests against the U.S. war in Vietnam that were brutally suppressed across campuses, like at Ohio's Kent State University, where 4 students were killed and hundreds of others were injured after armed police opened fire on protesters. The shootings only galvanized more support, with over 4 million students participating in walkouts at hundreds of college campuses across the U.S. In the last decade, about 100 U.S. colleges have reported receiving gifts or contracts from Israel, totaling $375 million. Many elite universities, such as Harvard and Columbia, boast multi-billion-dollar endowments from various corporations for financial sustainability. These institutions often use the endowments to invest in companies, many with ties to Tel Aviv or that support Israel's occupation, including Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Alphabet, and Amazon. Pro-Israel organizations and Zionist billionaires have maintained a steady stream of donations to universities across the U.S. This includes joint research projects, faculty exchanges, and student exchange programs. However, with student protests against the U.S.'s ongoing Zionist donors are now using their financial leverage to put pressure on the universities they fund, where students have been demonstrating. Billionaires like Bill Ackman, Mark Rowan, Edan Ofer of Israel, Victoria's Secret founder Les Wexner, Leon Cooperman, and Henry Swooper have either cut off future funding or threatened to do so. Israel has, since its foundation, been relentlessly trying to legitimize its occupation of Palestine. Led by Foreign Minister Eli Cohen, this multifaceted strategy includes creating financial and economic sanctions against individuals and organizations critical of Israel, publicly naming and shaming critics and protesters, and pressuring organizations not to include them, taking legal action against individuals and organizations, and encouraging those to leverage their money to suppress the campus activities. Moreover, the strategy suggests providing a toolbox to address the claims of Israel's critics by employing Hasbara, a Hebrew word that translates to explaining, and refers to Tel Aviv's public diplomacy scheme devoted to shaping public opinion, whitewashing Israel's image, and suppressing all negative commentary. US President Joe Biden has staunchly opposed the protesters, labeling them anti-Semitic. Undeterred, the demonstrators have continued their protests, with more and more universities joining in and establishing a campus. Recent data suggests that the tide is turning against Israel and its narrative. Around 2/3, 67% of US voters are demanding a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Experts say that the massive outpouring of support for the student movement from both within the US and around the world suggests that the billion-dollar strategy and decades-long effort to promote the Zionist narrative in the US is losing ground.